MMAOddsBreaker, welcome back. I'm Frank Trigg. Today's Danny Castillo. Last call we're talking to, of course, of Team Alpha Male. He's fighting Tony Ferguson, coming up here on UFC 177. It's actually at his hometown. It's in Sacramento. But not so much hometown advantage anymore. The fights are so big now, especially up in Sacktown. Everyone travels. Everyone comes up there. Do you feel like you're going to have a huge hometown advantage because everyone else on Alpha Male is fighting as well? Or do you feel like it's going to be?
Most definitely. It's a huge hometown advantage for me. In fact, of the fight, I'll be sleeping in my own bed. The only time I'll sleep in the hotel is maybe the night before weigh-ins, maybe the night before fight, just to make it easier with transportation-wise, jumping on the bus to and from. But other than that, man, I can go home. I don't have to be worried about packing things. Like, everything's here, man. My friends and family are going to be here. It's positive motivation for me. It's a lot of good pressure. I bought $17,000 worth of tickets, and they're all sold. So I'm a business owner. I got a lot of people from my fitness studio coming to watch me fight. My friends and family. I grew up in Sacramento. It's awesome.
Is there, because you have a huge cheering fan, and it's a lot. And you said there's a lot of good pressure coming on there. How do you think that some of the other fighters deal with that, having that hometown advantage where it's a lot of positive energy coming at them, and it seems to be a lot more pressure fighting at home than anywhere else? You deal with it very well, obviously, and always have. But how do you think other fighters deal with it? Do you think they have problems with it, or is it a skill set that needs to be learned?
Well, this will be my third time fighting at home. Actually, I lost the first two times. So the first time was on 5 days' notice. I fought Cowboy Cerrone. My WC debut. So I didn't really have enough time to deal with the drama of being at home. And in fact, it's the first time a fight organization took care of me in terms of hotels and stuff like that. So the second time was last December. I fought Edson Barbosa and lost a close decision. It was fight of the night. It wasn't too bad for me. I got tickets. I bought a bunch of tickets this time. I bought a little bit, like $5,000 worth of tickets last time. But because of my fitness studio, I was able to have all the tickets there. I don't deal with text messages. I'm just like, if you need your tickets, you call the studio, you pay with the cash there, you deal with all that stuff. So, you know what they say, third time's a charm. So this is going to be my third fight at home. It's the co-main event, the biggest fight that I've ever been a part of. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're about, it's August 30th is the fight, and I'm peaking. I feel great.
Well, let's go back and talk about that Donald Cerrone fight taking on 5 days' notice. That was back in 2008. It wasn't like it was just recent history. And you lost to Donald Cerrone. Let's not forget that. It's not like you lost to some chump. It's a guy that's actually since then has gone accelerated and been one of the top guys in the weight class. And so it's a guy to lose to. That's okay. You can kind of write that loss off. And Edson Barbosa, it's another one. When he lost back in December, it wasn't like you sat in there and didn't do anything. You worked, and he just had to be the better fighter that night. So you end up losing that one, and that just happened to be at home. But the pressure of being at home didn't seem to affect you at all. It wasn't like you lost because there was a pressure or there was a flaw or something like that. I see with a lot of these other fighters sometimes when they're fighting at home, they tend to fade. They tend to fall apart a little bit because they let that pressure of fighting at home kind of get to them. But it's changed quite a bit now. A lot of fighters are realizing, too, that hometown advantage doesn't mean anything different. You can have fans in London. You can have fans in Toronto. You can have fans in Oklahoma City. And you can have fans in Sacramento. So being at home doesn't really make much difference, other than the fact that you're in your own bed. But let's break down Ferguson as a fighter. Like, how do you see Tony, and what do you think he's going to try to do once you guys are inside that cage?
Well, you just changed my mind, man. Now I'm like completely nervous. I don't. There's too much pressure. I don't know what to do about this.
Stop it.
No. But back to the Donald Cerrone thing. I had 8 months of training. I've been wrestling my whole life, but in terms of striking and MMA, that was 8 months. I had 5 fights every 6 weeks. I was 5-0 in 8 months, and I wasn't prepared for a fight of that magnitude against a top caliber fighter like that. So that's a fight that I'd like to have again. And in fact, after this fight, I'd love to have that fight with Donald Cerrone. I respect him a lot, but I'm a complete different fighter than I was 6 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Tony Ferguson. He's a great fighter. You know, he won the Ultimate Fighter. He's, I believe, 5-1 in the UFC. You know, he's got a notable win against Yves Edwards. And he's got some power in his hand. He's got decent jiu-jitsu. He's a purple belt under 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So I got my hands cut out for me. But, you know, it's when you've got this will be my 19th fight with Zuffa. When you got 19 fight with Zuffa, you don't fight slouches. When I got into the WEC, I had 8 fights in the WEC. In Denver, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, Ricardo Lamas, Dustin Poirier, who both I have wins over Dustin Poirier and a knockout win over Ricardo Lamas. And this was really early in my career. So we fast forward to, you know, another 6 years later, and I fought a who's who of the lightweight division. In fact, I think that's the reason why I kind of got lost in the shuffle in terms of notoriety, because, you know, the lightweight division has 3 times the amount of fire pool is extremely high. You know, it's a Shark Tank full of killers, and I'm right there with them. My last 2 fights, I lost to Edson Barbosa, I lost to Michael Johnson. But if you go back to those fights and you watch the first 2 rounds, there's a lot of refs that would have stopped those fights in there, and you know, they could have easily been 10-8 rounds for me. Unfortunately, you know, it came back. I couldn't finish the fight, and it bit me in the butt. But that makes me the fighter who I am today. That makes the experience that much higher for me. You know, there's nothing that Tony Ferguson has that I haven't seen. His stature, he's taller than me, of course. I'm always the smallest guy in that cage, never the weakest guy. You know, I got an awesome strength and conditioning coach. But in terms of body type, I believe he's the same body type as Tim Means. Tim Means may be a little bit bigger than him. And I think, in my opinion, Tim Means have better hands than him. We won't know till August 30th. That's why everyone has to tune in. Striking-wise, I feel like Anthony Njokuani is a better striker than he is. Yep. I feel like Edson Barbosa is a better striker than he is. Jiu-jitsu-wise, you know, I've broke down this fight a ton. You know, these are the things that, as a fighter, you run in your head, and you're like, this is why I'm going to win. This is exactly why I'm confident. There's no one that could beat me. His jiu-jitsu, I fought Paul Sass. I flew across the pond to London. I fought Paul Sass in his backyard. I took the fight to him in his own game. I was in his guard, busting him with elbows. I won. I believe it was a unanimous decision. I can't remember, but I know I won. I don't know if it was unanimous or split, but I'm pretty confident.
Unanimous decision.
It was a unanimous decision. Yeah. So that was back then. Paul Sass was one of the most feared ground guys in the game. In fact, he had like 3 submissions the night prior to that. A submission over Michael Johnson, who Tony Ferguson and I both lost to. So the MMA math doesn't add up ever. But you know, I'm prepared for this fight, man, and it's 19 fights. It's time for me to be one of those big names in the sport, and I know that, and this is an opportunity that I have to seize, and I'm relishing it right now because so many good things and so many opportunities are happening to me. I don't want it to end, and I definitely don't want to let my hometown, my friends and family down.
Now, you talk about the Michael Johnson fight that both of you lost to Mike. Did you look at that? Did you take something away from that fight, watching him fight Michael too, and going, oh, when I did this to Michael, you know, this worked? Or did you just look at it and go, okay, it's just another fight that happened?
Well, you know, it was so long ago, and I feel like MMA is constantly changing and evolving. Some techniques 3 months ago don't work anymore. And not to mention, Michael Johnson's a southpaw. So I'm orthodox, but in the Bang Muay Thai system, I'm switching orthodox to southpaw constantly. So there's some things I took from it, but, you know, my game plan's not set on that fight because I was a better fighter than he was in that fight. What I do take away from it is that Tony Ferguson is extremely durable. He's a tough dude, and it's going to take a lot for me to finish him. So any opportunity that poses himself for me to finish the fight, I need to be patient, and I need to be smart about jumping on him. You know, when I went in that Edson Barbosa fight, I had him hurt. I just went for the kill, and I kind of gassed myself out. I lost the second round. The third round was up in the air. So I can't let that happen to me again. And like I said, man, it's 19 fights with some of the best fighters in the world in the lightweight division. I've got the experience.
What do you were talking about techniques like 3 months ago were very popular in the UFC, all of a sudden don't work anymore. We all remember, when Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida came out the front kick, and Sensei Steven Seagal came out with inventing it for us so that we could all use it. That now all of a sudden doesn't work anymore. Like everyone tried it for a while, and all of a sudden it didn't work. Like, what do you feel like right now is that hot technique?
I would say it doesn't work anymore. It's just the placement of the kick is different. You're not seeing it to the face anymore. But I think Cowboy did an extremely a great job at utilizing that kick to the front of the stomach. He hurt Jim Miller with it a bunch of times. So I think it's still there. It's just you have to the fighters that stay stagnant are the ones that get passed up. Yeah. And I feel like I'm such a hard worker that I'm not going to let that happen. I'm constantly in there. I roll in the gi. Not too many fighters roll in the gi, but I know if I want to be the best possible jiu-jitsu player, I have to put myself in the jiu-jitsu room. If you want to be a good wrestler, you don't go to a Muay Thai studio and take a wrestling class. You get in the wrestling room, because that's the only way you'll be able to absorb the techniques and the traditions that discipline has. So, the techniques that are working 3 months ago that are, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but, he's going to be coming out with that rubber guard stuff. I'm guessing, to take down or very high. I'm running all fights the ground. So I'm brushing up on my rubber guard, being able to pass the rubber guard and stuff like that. But there's nothing in particular that he's been doing that I've noticed. And that's the hard thing about it. The longer the layoff, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of ring rust. It just means that there's some things that he's going to bring to the fight that I've never seen. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm preaching to a man who's one of the legends in the sport, man. I got a lot of respect for you, Frank, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, the thing is too is that folks at home don't necessarily know all the stuff that you just said, and sometimes I forget because I'm not actually in the room every day trying to prepare and being train camp, trying to get ready for a fight. So you forget a lot of the things that are out there. I sit back now and just watch it on TV and see, oh wow, that technique's kind of cool, and that technique's kind of cool. I never used it when I was competing, so it's always interesting to see what other fighters say about the new techniques coming in, like this one's the great thing, or this is the new thing I'm trying to do, or whatever it is. So I appreciate you letting us know. The last question before I let you out of here, obviously you're the co-main event. Main event is TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barão. So I can't ask you because you train with TJ Dillashaw. So who you picking in that fight? Of course, it's TJ Dillashaw. It's your teammate. It's your friend. It's the guy that you train with every day. So that's the guy you're going to take obviously in that one. Besides the main event and besides your fight, what other fight on the card are you looking forward to that's on UFC Fight Night 177?
Well, because, I'm doing with last night I went to Lodi and I trained with Nate Diaz. He took it on short notice against, I think it was Jim Miller. Mm-hmm. And he came up short on that fight, so I know he's hungry. I just rolled with him. His jiu-jitsu feels great. His stand-up is great. He had a knockout over Yves Edwards the fight before that. So he's fighting, a guy that I think he's way better than him in Justin Edwards. So I'm looking forward. When you, it doesn't matter how many times you train together. If you have a good friendship with that person, you want them to do well. Yeah. So I want him to do really well, and I'm expecting a knockout out of him. Ramsey's also on the card, and he's someone I've trained with in the past, and he's caught fire. In fact, he moved his whole camp to San Francisco, and he's doing a great job. And those are the two guys that I'm looking to have good fights, and I'm hoping they win and win in an impressive fashion. Not more impressive than me, because I don't want to fight any of the two guys. Because they're both really good guys. But those are the two fights. I think TJ is going to finish Barão in the second round, if you had to ask my honest opinion. But of course I am biased. But I don't think that Barão had enough time to I mean, he was cut twice in the fight. So if he went back to training 2 weeks later, I think that's a dumb move, and he didn't get enough time to heal. I think that he should have had TJ fight a couple more times to study some of those techniques, because he's not going to be able to get the same look. There's no way, because I'm in the Bang Muay Thai system and I don't have it down as well as TJ, and I'm running drills and practices every day. No way him to TJ.
Well, that's Danny Castillo getting ready to fight Tony Ferguson here on UFC 177. Danny, thanks for coming on here. I appreciate it. You heard who he wants to see fight. Yancey, of course, his teammate, TJ Dillashaw, and keep an eye out for Rams in the gym getting ready to fight Carlos Diego Ferreira. So, Danny, thanks for coming on here. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you after the fight's done.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Like I always said, I look up to you a lot, and thanks for everything you've done in the sport, and continue to stay in the sport, and giving a positive insight, a knowledgeable insight to the fight game. Thanks for everything you do.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, but we'll talk to you later, man.
All right.